If you're a modeler interested in Victorian Railways or Australian steam locomotives in general, great addition to your collection. Hi, this is Marlin at Hearns Hobbies, and I'm really pleased to announce the arrival of the J-Class locomotive from Ixion. I'm just going to run through that with you guys today and explain to you why it's such a great locomotive that's been so eagerly anticipated for such a long time. So the J-Class locomotive was the very last steam locomotive designed and built for the Victorian Railways. They were first introduced in 1954. By that point, VR had already invested quite heavily in diesel locomotives with the B-Class a few years prior, and then 1 year after the arrival of the J-Class, we had the T-Class locomotive, which was more or less the successor to these. So this is a pretty fantastic model that Ixion's produced. We're going to have a look at all of the fine detail in just a moment, but we'll just go into the history a little bit quickly. So there was a need for a steam locomotive to take care of mostly passenger and goods trains on the lighter branch lines as part of VR's network. And these were created specifically to fill that need. There was an order for 50 locomotives, I believe, and that was split between 25 units that burned oil and 25 units that burned coal. The reason being for that was because in the early 50s there was actually a coal shortage, and VR hedged their bets on having locomotives that could burn either fuel, just in case that problem became more severe. These locomotives ran all the way up until the late 1960s, with the very last one running on VR lines in 1972. With the first one being scrapped from 1967. And yeah, there's several of these still running around now, preserved. I believe there's 16 altogether that have been preserved. Some are in static display around Victoria and around New South Wales. And let's have a closer look at this particular model and find out what makes it so cool. The first thing that I'll note is that we have knuckle-style KD magnetic couplers, which are pretty much the standard for HO scale locomotives. Another feature that I really like is the sprung buffers on the front and rear of the locomotive. That's a feature that I've seen in some Bachmann branch line locomotives, but I really like it. I really like the sprung buffers. It's a nice touch. So other things that we have that are quite noteworthy is there's a tremendous amount of piping detail along both sides of the locomotive, in particular this side with the compressors for the brakes. You'll also note that there's the cable running from the cab of the locomotive to the whistle on the roof. And there's a tremendous amount of fine detail. I'm quite impressed with what they were able to pack into this. It's not a tremendously large locomotive, even for HO scale. So we have a working headlight up front. They're directional, so with the locomotive traveling forward, you have the headlight. There's also some lights at the rear of the locomotive for when it's in reverse. Obviously, if you're using DCC, you'll be able to configure between one or the other via your system. So the J-Class is a 280 locomotive, so you have 2 leading pilot wheels, 8 driving wheels, no trailing wheels. You have 2 4-wheel bogies on the front and rear of the tender. This particular locomotive is a coal burner. There's no coal load. That's something that you would need to add on your own as a modeler. But the decoder fits inside here. To remove the tender is really easy to install the decoder. You just have to unscrew one of the bogies, and then there's 2 more screws underneath that simply removes the body from the frame. And a 21-pin decoder is designed to fit very easily inside. There's a lot of room in there for any decoder of whatever size you need with that pin arrangement, and also a sound upgrade if that's something that you're in the market for. So yeah, another nice details on here. You have a lot of separately applied handrails on the sides of the tender and on the cab. This particular loco also has what looks like steps for shunting, which is what quite a lot of these locomotives were used for towards the end of their service life, was working as shunting locomotives. So there are quite a tremendous amount of detail parts on the inside as well. You have all sorts of control wheels, pipes. You have a seat for the driver and the fireman. Also included with the locomotive are an unpainted driver and fireman in this bag. There's a few other separately applied details which you can add as well. Like we have some clear window glazing in this bag here, and some additional piping in this bag here. So not necessarily things you need to add, but if you're able to do it and have the time, you can certainly add a little bit more. As I've discussed earlier, you can get this locomotive in a variety of different design configurations, whether it be coal like this one or oil burning. The production numbers for the actual locomotive were split about 50-50. This also has the red edge striping along the walkways. Earlier versions of this locomotive did not. They had black. That's also available. This one is the J515. So this is sold pre-numbered. There is an unnumbered version available in all design configurations, so that you can give it whichever number that you like. The plaque is there, but you're also given a decal sheet with a variety of numbers for you to apply yourself. All right, so let's give this a little bit of a run, and you guys can have a look at it going and see how smooth she is. There we go. This is just on DC, so this has no chip in it at the moment, but this gives you guys an idea as to how well this baby runs straight out of the box. Very smooth. This is yet to be broken in as well. But with a few minutes or a few hours of runtime, this will smooth right out even more. But so far, very smooth. And that is the J-Class by Ixion. Really wonderful locomotive if you're a modeler interested in Victorian Railways or Australian steam locomotives in general. Great addition to your collection. So really happy to have it here, and thanks for sharing it with me. Thanks guys, have a great day.